Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How you doing? It's Russ here from Poker's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that nobody dares say. We're just waiting for Kent here to log in. A bit of a nightmare tonight, but it is what. Here we are. Here's Kent. Women love him, men want to be him. How you doing, Kent? You all right?
All right, Russell.
How are you? All right?
Dead on, yes.
I thought you jacked it, Kent. I thought I was going to put you in Deadwood bracket.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Good man. Good man. I don't really know where to start, Kent, to be honest. Should we start with Mundo against Better Beeve? What do you think?
It's no surprise. I seen the fight going that way. You know, I didn't see it having any other outcome. You know, Better BF has been an active champion a long time. You know, this is probably the most inactive as a champion he's been as a pro. But you have to go way back. You look at the pedigree this guy's got. You know, he's got extreme pedigree. You know, you look at elite level fighters. You've got Alexander Usyk, you've got Lomachenko, and you've got Beterbiev. They've all got that same type of pedigree. It's elite pedigree, and it just doesn't come by winning a couple of titles and fighting, you know, a couple of pro fights. This is elite pedigree going back 20 years of fighting the best of the best, training with the best from the best, and it was no shock the outcome at all. You know, there's been a lot of negativity around the fight this week, which has been disappointing. But getting into that fight, you know, if they had them concerns or they seen a red flag, why did they take the fight in the first place? You know, they weren't saying that. You know, the Smiths talk about, yeah, we're a great boxing people and we're a great boxing family and we've been around the sport and we know a lot about the sport. But if they knew so much about the sport and they're complaining about, you know, findings and testing and this and that, why did they fight Calano, who years before had failed a test? They took the fight with him, didn't they? And you know, you look at the way that Beterbiev has been performing his whole career. The man's a skilled wrecking machine. He's a skilled brawler. He's a monster. You know, he's not just a walk forward pressure fighter. He's extremely skilled in how he does it. He's a as I would call, he's like a Crawford. You look at Crawford. Crawford's a skilled brawler. Beterbiev's a skilled wrecking machine, and it was no surprise to me that the outcome of the fight.
He's a bit special, isn't he? That Better Beeve, isn't he, Kent?
He's a monster. He just looks every sinew of him. He just looks like a genetic freak. You know, he's a one in a lifetime generational fighter, and you look at him and there's no, not just after that fight. You know, you look at the yard fight, you look at, you know, fights that he's just an absolute monster. He's a genetic freak. He doesn't have this massive one punch KO power that when he lands, you're gone. He's got this continuous power that he has from round one to latter stages of the fight, and you get that with a puncher that some fighters that there are punchers, as the fight goes on, that their power dwindles. His power is the same the whole way. It's like 80% of max power he can use the whole fight, and that's formidable. You look at any light heavyweight in the last 30 years, and you put them up against Beterbiev, there's not many of them come out in top, Russell.
No, there ain't, mate. There ain't. He's a special fighter, isn't he? Absolute special fighter.
You even go back and you look at great light heavyweights like Liverpool's greatest champion, John Conte. You look at a great light heavyweight like John Conte. You look at, you know, Bob Foster, the great light heavyweight from the 60s, and you put Beterbiev in with either of them. It's going to be tough for either of those great fighters to beat Arthur Beterbiev.
Well, this is how I look at it, right? He is probably the greatest light heavyweight I've ever seen. I think so. I think he's better than Michael Spinks. He's that good.
Yeah, he's a special fighter, and it's not just an arrogance of walking forward and throwing big shots. He comes from the Soviet style. He's schooled in the Soviet style. For me, that's the most superior style in boxing of any Soviet style. And the way his setup, the way he sets his shots up, he had basically Callum Smith from round one was pulling his jab back, was petrified of throwing the jab. He basically took Callum Smith jab away from him without even throwing shots. That's how much his power is respected. He's a monster. I think he would have ran through Roy Jones, ran through him.
You reckon?
A 90s Roy Jones, he would have ran through him for a shortcut.
Well, what did you think to all the goings on behind the scenes with the Smiths? Ladies and gentlemen, the Smiths, with this atypical finding, Ken. What do you think to all that?
They just seem to be miserable about everything and anything all the time. They never seem to be happy about anything, the Smiths. If that was the case, why did they fight then? Why did they take the fight? Why did they agree to the fight? And why did they take the fight? Simple.
Yeah, yeah.
If they know so much about boxing and have this knowledge and being this great boxing family, they knew what they were getting in with when they took that fight. They're not well. I'd like to think they knew what they were getting in with, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewind a bit. And you look at an interview that the Smiths made about how many bad habits that Callum Smith had, and how great a coach Buddy McGirt was, and all these great things that he was been learning under Buddy McGirt, and you know he was getting a boxing education every day with the great Buddy McGirt. Didn't show much of that in Saturday night.
Yeah, where were Buddy McGirt's game planned, Kent?
Well, if it's anything like the game plan that he had for Derek Chisora against Alexander Usyk, he said that he had never seen Alexander Usyk box before. Now, Alexander Usyk was one of the best amateurs ever in the last 25 years. He was one of the basically he unified the cruiserweight division, and he was just stepping up to heavyweight. And Buddy McGirt had said he hadn't seen him before. So if it was anything like that game plan, there's no surprise how the fight panned out.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, they're talking Smith Yard now, aren't they? On TalkSport.
Well, a year ago that Smith wouldn't have entertained Anthony Yard. They wouldn't have entertained that fight. They wouldn't have given it. They wouldn't have seen that Anthony was in the same league as Demons. They would have looked down on that fight. For me, if I was Anthony Yard, I would be looking for a world title fight after. It wouldn't make sense just to have a big domestic fight. The belts hopefully they're going to be unified soon, and they'll probably be fractured after unification. So it depends. It depends what the money's like for the fight. But if I was Yarda, I wouldn't take that fight because it enhances, it would enhance Callum Smith better that if he won that fight. But if Anthony Yard won that fight, where would he be? I don't think he would be any higher up the pecking order.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think to Big Joe Egan running around telling everybody that he sparred Mike Tyson? Because Tim Witherspoon told me it didn't happen, and I know somebody from over the pond who tells me the same thing. So what do you think to that? And trying to get his centre fight with Big John Fury in Saudi. What a load of bollocks! What do you think to
Well, there's stuff online of Mike Tyson actually getting dropped in sparring
that?
before the Douglas fight. You know, the Buster Douglas fight. There's sparring of Mike Tyson with Oliver McCall. There's all sorts of sparring tapes of Mike Tyson. So surely there's sparring tapes, Russell. You would like to think so, wouldn't you?
Well, they're in apparently, and according to Rooney, and when before Steve Lott died, anybody who sparred Mike Tyson going back to 1984, just before he turned pro, it's all on. There's all footage of it. Bill Caton had most of it before he died, and then Rooney had the rest of it. So I don't know what they did with it all, but there's none whatsoever of Big Joe Egan. Pop, pop, bang, Joe on that one.
I'm sick of hearing about it, Russell. It's another story.
Telling porkies, hasn't he, Joe Egan? Isn't that right, Big Joe? Listen, Big Joe, let me tell you this. You so much as leave one more voicemail on my phone again, Joe, and I will personally, I'll put you up in lights on Porky's Corner. I'll put you up on billboards, mate. You so much as ring my phone one more time, you prick. And just so you think I'm joking, Joe, let me just say this to you. Right? Let me just say this to you. I'm going to read your last three numbers of your phone number out, yeah? Your last three numbers are 384, you prick. You leave one more message on my phone or something, so even mention my name again, and you'll be copping it. All right, you big liar. Bullshitting bully, that's what you are, a bully. I'll tell everybody the real Big Joe Egan story, so shut your pie hole, you prick. Yeah, go on. You were saying, Kent. Go on. Just another prick that I have to deal with on a daily fucking basis. Shit house. Yeah, go on.
Let's get back to
Hang on a minute.
boxing.
Let's stay here. Let me just leave a message. I'll leave a message on his phone. Listen to this one here. Listen to this. Here, Big Joe Egan. You so much as ring my phone again. Right, I'm live here on my channel here. You so much as ring my phone again, Joe Egan, and I swear to God, I'll tell the real Joe Egan story about you. All right, you wrong un. All right, go on, piss off with your Mike Tyson stories. You've told that story that much that even Mike believes it, you prick. Go on, fuck off. There you go. Right, go on, Kent, you were saying.
I'll go back to the Yard and Smith. I actually think Anthony Yard's performance against Beterbiev was a really gutsy and a really brave performance. You know, it was probably in the last 3 years, it's probably one of the harder fights that Beterbiev has actually had. Where you look at Smith's performance up at light heavyweight, it actually enhances Beterbiev's. Sorry, it actually enhances Anthony Yard's reputation a lot, especially domestically.
Yeah, well, this is how I look at it, right? Who's Anthony Yard beat, right, to be in a pay-per-view anyway? And who's Callum Smith beat in recent times? I mean, he's been inactive 18 months and he's just been flogged. I mean, with these donkeys years ago since he beat Groves, and he were finished, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yep, and you know, it's like sitting about waiting for the big fight. You know, that fight at the weekend basically robbed us of Bivol and Beterbiev. So it did.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree, mate. Let's move on then from the Smith thing because it's become boring now. It's just like a sense of entitlement they've got in it. Really, do you know what I mean? That's what it is, isn't
Yeah,
it? A
yeah.
sense of entitlement. That's what it is. So this is how I look at it, right? This is how I look at it. This Saudi carry on now. Where's it going to leave UK boxing, Ken, as regards big shows?
They're actually stepping in now to snooker as well. They've actually signed like a top 10 tournament. They've actually moved in the darts, or sorry, snooker, probably move into darts. They've got golf. There's football there. As far as domestic boxing and shows, it's gonna be the way it was about 10 years ago. Would it be 10 years that the zone it's gonna be like when the zone come in and basically Matchroom had that co-deal with the zone and Sky. And basically what happened for about 18 months was the zone got all the really good cards and Sky got left with the dregs and pay-per-views. All the fighters basically didn't want to didn't want to fight in the UK. There was X amount of world champions at that time in England and the UK. And all they did was either sign a deal with Top Rank or went dirty. And it inflated the market where, you look at the deal that Tyson Fury got with Top Rank, that was purely off fear of the zone signing Tyson Fury. So that's the way it's going to be. We're going to be left with a lot of, I'm not knocking this, but the only positive from it is that we're probably going to get a lot more domestic level fights, i.e., British, Commonwealth, and European. The world title fights will probably go to Saudi. So it's a double-edged sword. We'll probably get better domestic boxing, but world title, world level boxing, it looks like it's going to go to Saudi.
You reckon?
Yeah.
It's getting to the stage now where the Saudis are like just flexing the muscles, aren't they? Making all these fights. But when you look at it deep down, Ken, all these fights are really they're nothing different to what's been put on for years. They're just fighters in top 15 that are fighting each other. I mean, why couldn't they have these in UK or America and that? Why is it Saudi all of a sudden?
It's all about it's the money. They're not. It's a money business. It's basically money. I don't really think Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn have much of a choice with the amount of money that's going around. If they don't go, they're going to be offered it, and they'll probably go for another avenue anyway.
Yeah.
So they've no real choice. It looks now that Queensbury and Matchroom show is going to happen. There's going to be 5 weights, 10 fighters, and 1 winning promoter on the night. It's been signed, so that'll be announced tomorrow. It's not for the love of boxing; it's purely financial.
Do you think that Eddie Hills and Bricktop have lost a bit of self-respect since they've been giving each other a reach around lately, Ken?
It's that saying that hell has frozen over. Uh, it has surprised me, to be fair. I wouldn't have seen this a year ago. I thought it would have been a separate venture. I didn't think it would have been joint venture as it is now. But the amount of money that's going about and the monopoly that's there, it's going to be hard for the promoters to say no to it, especially when the fighters are getting so well paid and getting so much money. They're getting something out of it as well. So I'm surprised it's happened as quickly as it did, because it looked to me at the start, it seemed like a Frank Warren move. that he pulled a move. But now it's kind of both Eddies come in the back door. There's other promoters, Dimitri Salidas there, and it looks to me like Ben Shalon and Boxer have been completely left out the back door. They're completely non-void here.
Yeah, it's where do you see Sky Sports and Boxer and all that lot with this Saudi thing? Because they look to me like they're not at the races, aren't they really? And Mick Hennessy and all them, they're not getting invited to the party, are they?
No, and you look at even fighters. You look at even fighters like promoters like Kala and the Channel 5 and Wasserman. They're even in there getting fights. Where you look at Sky and Sky have got it's at the minute now. You look at this purely from being a boxing perspective. You look at the cards that they're putting on. They are good cards, but at the minute, the best Sky can actually do. They're talking about Eubank and Kell Brook. That says it all.
Yeah, yeah. What about Kell Brook and Eubank? If that happens, where does that leave us?
I think it looks. I think it's. They're clutching at straws with that. That for me, you always make hay when the sun shines, and Eubank's last performance was a really good one against Beatty. That was 4 or 5 months ago. That was a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed from then and now. Who's going to pay to see Kell Brook against Eubank Jr. whenever Saudi are putting on these mega cards over the next few months? It would be. I think it would be the numbers. I don't think it brings the numbers that it would have.
Well, Kell Brook's 38 in a few weeks, isn't he? Right. So he's knocking on a bit now, but he's probably more skilled even now than Eubank, isn't he? But Eubank, in my opinion, mate, he's a shot fighter. He's not active enough. That inactivity kills him, It writes them off. They get a few quid down and they don't want to train. They want to live their life. Eubank's wrote off. Right. BP Smith's finished. And looks to me like big Tyson Fury's on the slide as well, doesn't he? If they'd give that decision to Ngannou, Tyson against Ngannou, if Ngannou got the nod in that split decision, we'd all be now saying Tyson's shot to bits, wouldn't we? But because he got the nod, we're saying, oh, he took it lightly. But look at the performance. It's like judging an horse on form going into a race. Tyson going into his next race, if he were a horse, there'd be donkey fodder, wouldn't he, on that performance,
There was a whole thing that came out there. Basically, Eubank had criticised Kala. He wanted a proper fight. He wanted Yana back. Now, I don't know if he wanted it or not. He's a unified champion. That's a really good fight. He is a really good fighter. He comes from that same Soviet school as Bivol, Beterbiev, Usyk. Really highly skilled box puncher. That's the only fight that I really want to see Eubank next to take him serious. What you're saying about Fury, that just I've no words for it, to be honest with you, because if a fighter performs bad now, the excuse is, yeah, he didn't prepare properly for it. So does that mean it didn't happen? Does that mean we can just plaster over the cracks? It still was that performance. Whether you prepared to your best of your ability or you didn't, that performance is still there. So it is that.
Yeah.
That's no excuse. That's like a football team losing a game and saying, well, Jimmy, Sammy, and Bobby didn't really train this week, and the rest of us were no. That performance happened. whether he overtrained, he undertrained, he didn't train, that was still the outcome of that fight.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't, that's like turning around saying, yeah, well, I got knocked out in the fight, but I didn't really perform. So that seems okay then. So it's all right for that performance. It's okay for Tyson to be so poor in that fight, just because he didn't prepare. That's no excuse.
No.
I thought he lost the fight, to be honest with you.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had it very, very close, but he should have been over the hills and far away, shouldn't he? With that one, he Tyson, really. I mean, come on.
I think what's been going on there is the whole media with Mike Tyson, there, and it's like a bit of a sideshow. But Mike Tyson's not actually his coach. It's Dewey Cooper, who works out at a top ranked gym in Vegas. He's a high end coach, a real elite boxing coach. So Ngannou's fundamentals surprised a lot of people. The way he was able to maintain his shape, his composure, his punch resistance. He comes from a brutal sport in mixed martial arts. He's big, he's explosive, he's a fast twitch athlete. Get into that fight, you would have had to take that more serious than obviously Tyson did. But as I say, there's no excuse for that performance. It was what it was.
It's where do you see Eddie's role out there now? Because they're doing the snooker, aren't they? They've got a world masters of snooker. Is it a top 8? And plus 2 wild cards on there, £1 million prize money in Saudi Arabia, aren't they, with snooker? So Eddie's obviously getting his feet under the table, isn't he?
Basically, Eddie's got a wee bit more clout at the minute than Frank Warren, if you think about it. Frank's got Tyson Fury, he's got his fighters, but Eddie's actually got other markets. He's got, obviously, Barry is the head of the snooker, and also the PDC. They've got involvement in the PDC as well, the darts. So that will be another thing that's going to happen down the line. There'll probably be a massive darts tournament that's going to be introduced there as well, with massive prize money. So Eddie's there involved, obviously, with the boxing, but with Matchroom in general. Matchroom, under that blanket, they've got darts, they've got snooker, and they've got boxing. So it's big business for Matchroom.
Yeah.
Really big business. I'll say it's that type of prize money for snooker is enormous.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's well, they're obviously doing it for money, aren't they? But how can British fans go out there to keep forking out to go out there for snooker? I mean, are they going to do it with all sports, Ken? What do you think?
It's becoming very commercialized. I think the next thing they'll probably look at next is an NFL game, probably the way they do in the UK. Other sports, it's anything that sells and anything that's got money involved. But as far as the travel and the flights and the leisure of it, it's very expensive. To go out there, much would it be for a flight? Richard would know this. What would it be for a return flight to Saudi?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But
see.
but Matchroom tried this before with the darts. They brought the darts out to Las Vegas as well, and it didn't really work. It only happened for a few years. It fizzled out. The snooker, there is massive, the massive tournaments in China. They're massive over there. That's probably the only place that these tournaments are really big. So it's just basically them and expanding their their business and their brand and their country. But if it's very, very expensive to go out there, it's going to be hard to get people to go and watch these events. I couldn't afford it. You're talking, what is it? What would it be, a return flight from Saudi and back?
It's $3.5 grand, isn't it? To go out there to Saudi and back. A ticket for boxing is 3,700 quid. So who's going to flop out 3,700 quid? Yeah, you get hotel and all that, the package. So if you've got a family of four, what's that? 16 grand.
A ticket that's what it is for a ticket.
Yeah, 3,700 for flight, hotel, and ticket for one
That's
person.
a lot of money. Wow. I remember going out one time and thinking, I remember there was talk of Carl Frampton fighting Oscar Valdez at one time. And I remember thinking, right, I want to go to this. And I priced it all, and it was working out around about £600. And that was your ticket. That was your flight, and that was a 4-day accommodation.
Wow. What's that?
600.
What are you doing to me?
£600. Compared to £3.5 grand, that's crazy money. Crazy money. Times that by what? What would they be? What many thousand would be going to Vegas to watch a fight?
Oh, this
5,000.
is how many's good? Yeah, but it wasn't that much to go to Vegas. Well, you could get your ticket and your flight and all that for like 600 or 700, couldn't you? Going to Vegas, he want like another $3 grand, were it?
That's a fortune. It's a fortune.
It's a lot of money to watch fights that we should have been getting of it. We should have been having these fights a long time ago in England and in Europe and in America. We should have had these fights ages ago. We've not had them because they've starved of us action. And as soon as we get a glimmer of summer, we're all losing our minds, aren't we? I mean, I saw somebody today losing his mind about Callum Smith and Yard on Talksport, and I'm thinking, well, they've both been bashed up, haven't they, by Better Beef, haven't they? And Canelo and Kovalev have been bashed up. They're into belt online, but we're supposed to flop out for pay-per-view. What pay-per-view is supposed to be for the really, really elite fights? Like the Crawford Spence and the Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, them sort of fights. Not this where they're hyping it up on social media and telling everybody that they're roadmen when they're not. Do you know what I mean?
It's not a fight that is not a fight that can generate pay-per-view money. No way. The market is going to change, and I'll tell you why. With the way the market's going to change. So, for the last 10 years, we have been conditioned to 6 pay-per-views a year. Am I right?
Yeah.
For borderline British level fights. Am I right?
Yeah.
And we've paid for it. And we have paid for this. Yes, it's an event. Yes, we need to put pay-per-view on to make this card happen, not just the main fight, but the card. So we have been conditioned to buying this type of fight, and we've been doing it. And the promoters have made an absolute fortune from domestic level fights that were a Saturday fight night. So now what's going to happen is the market's going to change even more. So what we're going to have now is I see them kind of shooting themselves in the foot because what's happening is now you'll turn around and say, no, I'm not going to pay for that now, because why should I pay for that card when I can pay for pay-per-view when I'm getting AJ on the same card, I'm getting Usyk in the same card, I'm getting Fury in the same card. I'm not watching that. I'm only going to watch this type of card with this amount of fighters on it. So it's going to be detrimental to the pay-per-view platform as it is now going forward. It's going to rapidly change. Rapidly.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it's going to change, mate. It's going to change. But do you think Fury? We'll finish off on this one, Ken. I think Fury pulls out of the February 17th fight. I'm not saying he doesn't fight him altogether, but I don't think it happens next month. What do you think? Do you think it still goes ahead?
Russell, I think the days of pulling out of fights and things not happening and this and that, these type of people, these type of business people, there has to be a bout agreement. You know, this is going to be the second. If it did happen, if this did happen a second time, I think a lot of people are going to end up in court. I don't think they could afford to pull out of this fight. I think these type of business people have set up they've changed the infrastructure of the country. They've put a lot of money in. Yes, they have a lot of money, but I don't think they want to be messed about, Russell. I think if there's a bout agreement there, it will have to be honoured.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okie dokie. Well, listen, Kent, thanks for coming on. You've been a real tonic, and I hope you're all right. And we'll have you on again. All right, you take care.
All right, Russell, take care.
Bye bye. Well, that were Kent. Women love him, men want to be him. Right, which brings me to Big Joe Egan, Mike Tyson's sparring partner. Stop chatting a load of shit. Like I said earlier, I'll say it again. You're probably on Twitter or some or Insta, wherever. People will send you this. I don't get two hoots. I hope they do. You ring me again, right? And I'll tell the real Joe Egan story. All right, so shut your mouth and swallow. All right. Mike Tyson sparred. Jesus Christ, man. Unbelievable. Pop, pop, bang. Walter Mitty job. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. And don't forget, Big Joe Egan versus Big John Fury coming to a pay-per-view station near you from Saudi. What are you on, Joe, eh? Well, get a grip of yourself. Go on, peace out. I'll be at factory all day tomorrow, Joe, till 6 p.m. Pop down anytime. Pop, pop, bang. Pop down in your big stupid Crombie from Primark. Big stiff.